Good morning, America. It's the pollinator, and it's very early in the Tuesday morning, and I put out a post on Facebook yesterday. Or maybe, yeah, it could have been Sunday night, that maybe I might make a video about racism. And then I said very quickly, you know what? Nah, probably not, because people won't get it. People never get it. And I don't mean necessarily people of color, although there are many persons of color that don't get it, including black people. So, because I mean, this is such a hot thing going on right now on social media. I mean, hot, 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 hot. Because this administration that was elected in, well, asshat in chief, who was elected in last November, and then he started pulling in his administration team, Vice President Dents, and then everybody else. And ever since then, people have been awakened, more or less, kind of, sort of. Depending on who you are in this country, it has put a fire into people who have been more or less quiet or silent about the issue of race since the civil rights movement in the 1960s. And suddenly, around social media, various publications started making more and more articles on the topic, and then came the pushback. And when I say pushback, people, my eyes still aren't well, but when I say pushback, I mean people are not only pushing back against it against the acknowledgement and the existence of racism and systematic oppression in the United States, but they're also doing it worldwide. And everybody's got an opinion. Nobody really knows what they're talking about. It's all a very, very knee-jerk reaction to that word. I mean, the minute it comes out of a person of color's mouth, the white people are defensive. They're very protective of the fact that although they benefit from racism in the United States, and I'm just going to talk about the United States because I'm also going to talk about the Constitution, and I'm also going to talk about particular words that apply to Americans and not necessarily in this order or having anything to do with the Constitution of the United States of America or the Bill of Rights or anything having to do with the ways laws are created and enacted in this country. So I have nothing to say about how it's going down in other countries, except to say that in other countries, as recently a supermodel, a transgender black supermodel, got fired from L'Oreal for speaking out against racism. And people on Facebook and social media have taken the things that she said apart to mean she was anti-white. She said all white people are racist. She said, I mean, they're of course doing the same thing that they do to black Americans in the United States, which is to shoot the messenger, to kind of twist around what somebody says, including crimes committed against black people. The first thing that happens when a crime committed by a white person in America against a black person in America, they, even if it's murdering them, they will start looking under rocks for the records of those black people, to dispel them, to tarnish them, to make them look like the bad guy when they were the ones murdered, and making the white guy or white woman, whatever, look as good as possible for their unjustifiably irrational reasons for committing that murder, or brutality, or violence, or oppressive act, or discrimination. Anything and everything that they can do to make that white man or white woman look good, they will do. And anything and everything they can do to make the black victim look bad, they will do. Then you get on social media and they start talking about the particular incident that happened, and suddenly all the white folks are trying to make the companies who are doing this discrimination and doing this suppression and oppression of someone who speaks out against racism, they jump on the bandwagon, and they jump on the bandwagon of the company who did the firing or tried to silence a black person from saying racism is just as strong and just as bad as it's always been, if not worse. White people, and I don't even care if they're racist or not, or they think they're racist or not, will always seem to side on the white business. Okay, and racism, okay, so I'm going to look down occasionally because I'm going to start reading the doggone truth. Your dictionary maintained by your people, your words. Okay? So, first of all, racism is a belief or doctrine that inherent differences among the various human racial groups determine cultural or individual achievement, usually involving the idea that one's own race is superior and has the right to dominate others, or that a particular racial group is inferior to others. That is racism. And every single time y'all try to push your superior ideas and opinions off on us, you are practicing racism. So, I ended up in a conversation on Facebook in a particular group that I actually liked a lot because, you know, they put out a lot of other information. But this particular one was about that model, that black transgender supermodel who got fired by L'Oreal. And, you know, within maybe a few paragraphs, you know, a few people, white people, white women mainly, who, you know, had something negative to say about that firing of that supermodel, I jumped in there and said, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that just because someone's going to call out racism, that makes them anti-white? And of course, they start finding the shit on this supermodel that she said all white people are racist. I see so much guilt going on with y'all. It ain't even funny. Because truth be told, according to this definition, and according to the way you are conducting yourself in groups on Facebook, you're racist. You always try to say your opinion is superior to anybody who would jump up and challenge you. Challenge that you may be a racist. And we live in a racist society. America is laden with racism, and every white person in this country benefits from it. That's called privilege. The poorest white person is still the poorest white person at the very same income level in America is still that more valuable than that same person with that same income is black. Now, if you don't believe me, look it up. Look it up, people. See, all y'all are talking out the side of your neck and you ain't looked at nothing. You ain't researched nothing, and you just got a knee-jerk reaction every single time. There is evidence and there's proof out there that what I'm saying, the data supports what I'm saying. And there's a lot of, not a lot, but a few, compared to the masses, there are a few white people, men and women, that are putting, making videos and doing talks across the country, supporting the data that, you know, things happen in this country, and white people, even the poorest white people, will associate themselves so fast to the middle class and rich than they will somebody 500 feet across the street from them if they're black. They will jump on the other side. That's why, and they don't have anything in common with the rich white people. Nothing in common. In fact, rich white people are out to dominate everybody. So it just matters where you are on the totem pole about how much you will be dominated. So all of these people running up and jumping up and defending whiteness and white privilege and racism, y'all kind of sound silly. And I got so mad in that post that because it was like, oh no, she deserved to lose her job. I don't hear y'all saying that when the white police kill a black person. In fact, no, y'all will use your taxes to pay for their paid vacation while they're awaiting trial. And then when they get to trial over killing a black person, they get acquitted by your jury, a jury of your peers. Never are those juries the juries of the black person's peers. Never. Okay? There has never in the history of this country been a mostly black jury when it comes down to stuff like that. No, the deck is stacked every single time. And a lot of you Americans are on them juries. How many of you get out of jury duty? And when you do end up in a trial, look around. See how many black people are in that jury. The deck is stacked. Okay, so let's talk about the word oppression, which means the exercise of authority or power in a burdensome, cruel, or unjust manner. That's oppression. So we deal with both racism and oppression 24 hours a day. See, when you get in your car, when you're non-black, or let me say, right now the data suggests that Hispanics and blacks are 10 times more likely to get pulled over and searched and a bunch of other freaking nonsense by the police. And everybody else don't worry about that when they get in their cars every day. They don't worry about being pulled over. They don't have any anxiety over being pulled over. They don't have any fears that they'll be shot dead just because they flinched or their hands weren't on the steering wheel when they got pulled over. Black people are getting shot with their seat belt on and their hands on the wheel. Sometime last year, or maybe it was this year, a lot of people started, black people started speaking out against this phenomenon. It's not new. It's just more publicized because of the media. that, you know, hands up, don't shoot. 99% of the cases out there, the police had no reason to actually shoot a black man dead or woman, but they did, and they got away with it. Go out there and try to find some videos of the same scenario when a white person gets pulled over by the police, and how many of them ended up dead, how many of them ended up in jail, how many of them end up brutalized. In fact, this is redundant, but I said this on, I don't know, a couple videos ago, that they will pull a white man out of his freaking basement who's got bombs and guns and an arsenal in his basement, and they will pull that motherfucker out alive. You can't do that and be black. You can't even get your hands on all that kind of material if you're black, let alone have a basement full of it. See, the deck is stacked, and you guys are very defensive, which is called white fragility. You don't want to know the truth. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to know it, and especially from black people. And the videos that I've seen of white people talking about this, talking about racism, talking about oppression, talking about white privilege, all of them, you guys don't even go out there and look at them. The numbers are so low, the views are so low. You'll get millions of views on cartoons, millions of views on games, millions of views on supremacist talks. KKK or any other kind of supremacist organization will get thousands of views. But these people that are trying to wake y'all up and get y'all to stop being so damn fragile and get y'all to fucking get some kind of understanding of what these things mean, view count is way down. In the thousands, double-digit thousands, not even 100,000. And those same people that are making those videos don't have their own channel. So the dissemination of information is also tainted, because there's not one place you can go look for the things that they said. The first one I saw last year was a white woman talking about racism, and that because of the way this country has been structured since slavery, y'all got some in you, whether you realize it or not. This woman, this white woman, was brave enough to say, you know what, it's so inbred in this culture that we cannot be white and not have racism in us. But see, you'd have to, in order for you to understand that, you'd have to watch the video. But do you? No. Do you want to? No. Do you have to? No. See, you can afford to turn another way. You can afford to not know what you're talking about and start attacking people who are speaking out against it in this country and in this world. And when they do, you think it's justifiable to ruin their life. You didn't think it's justifiable to ruin the lives of those KKK members who start that shit in North Carolina, did you? Do you? No, I've seen some articles of some white people saying, oh, well, they shouldn't ruin the lives of the guy who ran somebody over during that rally. Oh, he doesn't deserve to lose his livelihood. He doesn't deserve... Y'all don't say that shit when it comes to us losing our lives. Nope, nope, nope. The media and the rest of you look up dirt. And then that's all you're talking about on social media is the dirt you think you found. Which... Because the laws are unfair, because slavery has turned into institutionalized racism, there's more black people with felonies and records that they shouldn't have, that just have many petty crimes, than all white people combined here. And black people only make up 12% of the population in the United States. And then all the rest of the POC are behind them. And then the next largest population of people in the United States are white people, 74-something%. So, and who fills the jails? We do. Not Hispanics, not Asians, not American Indians, black people. Because we can't afford attorneys. And the ones that are given to them, what they call them people, public defenders, are a joke. They're into getting you to cop a plea. They're not trying to defend you. They're getting you to cop a plea. And those pleas make you look guilty. They all do. They'd have to be willing to go to trial, but they aren't. So, see, you have to be able to afford somebody better than a public defender. And for most black people, they cannot afford that because we are on the bottom of the economic scale in America. Public defenders might get a white person off. They won't even try to get a black person off. They won't go to trial for them. So let's talk about another word, discrimination. Now, mind you, we're experiencing all three of these: racism, oppression, discrimination. And one of the famous things that people on Facebook do is throw out, well, I've been discriminated against. I know what discrimination is. And while they're saying that, they don't have any fucking idea what racism feels like. And they don't have any idea what oppression feels like. They know what discrimination feels like. Well, try living with all three. 24 hours a day, all of your life. I'm not talking about one or a couple incidences here and there. I'm talking about living with all three of these things every single day of your life. Y'all wouldn't be able to handle that. You wouldn't. But your famous defensive, your famous defensive, I know what discrimination is so that I know what racism and oppression is. No, you don't. You don't know what systematic oppression is. Systematic. Not isolated incidences of it. We are oppressed across the board. It's a system that's been around since we were brought to this country. If you're white, there is no such thing as systematic oppression, which is different than just the word oppression. Look it up. Look in your dictionary maintained by you guys. Okay? Know what you're talking about before you jump in and start defending your inbred racism. Look it up. I double dog dare you to take it all the way back to childhood, because some of y'all are childish as hell when you start talking about racism. So let's talk about something else that deals with racism, which are civil rights. And you know, I was reading something, and it almost made me crazy to see it. All I saw was one line, and I was like, oh my God, they are not upholding the Constitution of the United States in America. Not at all. In fact, did you know that, you know how many amendments are involved in civil rights in the United States? 7. 7 amendments in the Constitution. Nobody's talking about that, see? Nobody's arguing about that because it's in black and white. They can't argue with what's in there. But white people are ignoring it and acting like that shit ain't there. The 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment, 19th Amendment, 23rd Amendment, the 24th Amendment, and the 26th Amendment are all civil rights amendments in the Constitution of the United States of America. And none of them that I'm reading here are being upheld in the United States. Because the majority of people here, 74%, 74.5% of y'all is white, and you don't care about this shit. These civil rights have nothing to do with you. It has to do with black people. So why they got created? They didn't get created for all the rest of the POC. They got created because of black people. So the 13th Amendment abolished slavery. The 14th Amendment also talked about slavery. The 15th Amendment, check this one out, prohibits the use of race, color, or previous condition of servitude in determining which citizens may vote. Okay, that's the voting one. But you know what? They mess with that in the United States. You know, there's been elections where when black people went to vote, suddenly they were unable to, or they confused the entire system, especially down in Florida, where they sent people to the wrong precinct. The wrong voting location to vote, thus nullifying their vote. And this stuff goes on more times than you even know about, because the media will only blow up this shit about one state. They don't tell you it happened in 10 states during that election. They don't tell you that. You gotta look for that. See, there's all sorts of information, including our culture, that have been hidden from us and hidden from you. And nobody's making you go look for it. Nobody's making you do anything. Anything that has to be forced for people to do has to be made law. And even then, the individual states will find a little sneaky, sleazy way to get out of them by saying, well, I'm a state. I'm part of the United States, but I'm a state, and so I can do things this way. And it doesn't matter that it's violating the Constitution. None of this stuff matters to you guys when you get in arguments with us on Facebook or social media at all. You ain't looking at none of this. You're just shooting from the hip. And you've got a knee-jerk reaction because somebody said you're a racist, or racism exists, or racism is as strong, if not stronger, than it's ever been. Oh, no, I'm not a racist. Really? You know what? Go watch Robin, Dr. Okay, see, I didn't write this one down, but this white doctor, her name is Robin, she challenges everybody that, yeah, it does exist in you. You just aren't looking to see. But everyone who has a knee-jerk reaction, I'm not even going to say 99% of y'all, but 100% of y'all have some racism going on that you're trying to hide from yourself. We see it when it comes out your mouth or off your fingers. We see it. You don't see it because you're in denial, which is a huge part of racism. It's to deny that you're a racist because you didn't commit a racist act. But you're all benefiting from racism, so you're not fighting against it. You're fighting against us. You're not fighting against racism. You're not even fighting against it when you blow up at your white friend. Because, see, this shit is systematic. It's going to take a whole bunch of y'all getting together to overcome it. Not one person here, one person there, one person here, one person there. You know, I got in another conversation on my timeline where one man, and he wasn't in the United States. He didn't even live here. said that, well, when I see racism, I say something about it. Or if I see a racist act go on Facebook, I say something about it. You know what I told him? Well, you know what? You weren't around that day when I saw it. And the ones that were, in fact, all of the times that I've had overt racism happen, overt, there was nobody around like that to defend my honor, to defend me. When I was 10 years old, my father moved us to an exclusively white neighborhood when I was 10. And I was walking down the street one day, I was just going to a store, okay? And and it was a ways, and I used to walk a lot, but I turned a corner, and there was a child playing in the yard, and I noticed the child, but I just kept walking. And all of a sudden, the mother tears out of the house and picks her child up, runs back in the house, and closes locks every lock on her door. Now, at that age, I noticed it, but I didn't have any cognitive thinking to express how I felt about that. I internalized that. I felt like shit about that. It hurt me to my core, but I had no words to say it and to express it. Wasn't nobody around my skin color that could say, talk to me about what happened that day. And when I got to the end of that street, after seeing what this woman had done, like I was a criminal just because my skin was black, I was automatically guilty of some kind of crime because my skin was dark. Just walking down the street, minding my own business, going to the store to get some candy or something. I get to the end of that street, and a car, a station wagon, I don't remember what color it was, but you know the wood trimming on the station wagons back in the day, back in the 60s? It came barreling down the street from the right, going to the left. And as it started to pull in front of me, going this way, the kids in the back seat rolled down their windows and started calling me racial slurs. From nigger to coon, you name it, they called me that. And their parents, both of them, man and woman, sitting in the front seat. They were driving slow enough, but they didn't say nothing to their kids. They let them do that. And then the car disappeared. This was just one day, and I was only 10 years old. Combined with a lot of other things that have happened to me, and I'm getting ready to turn 60 in 2 weeks, and I've got enough stories, just for me alone, to make any of you white people anxious for the rest of your fucking life. Yet, we have to find a way every single day to swallow this shit that has happened to us, to take loads of shit from you, to take loads of shit from society, take loads of it from everywhere on a regular basis. Truth be known, black people are some of the strongest people on the planet because of what, especially American blacks, because of what we've had to endure here for the last 400 years. And not want to kill ourselves every day. And I'm sure some of y'all watching this video would be, especially you white trolls running around the internet, would say, ooh, that's good, that's fine with us if you do. That's what drugs are about. Drugs don't get into the inner city by black people. They get into the inner cities by white people. They're the ones that put them drugs there. They're the ones that are paying the cartels and letting them slip through the border with drugs, or in a boat, or in airplanes. That systematic genocide that nobody's talking about, how them drugs get here and how they happen to end up in the inner city, and how every freaking cop in the inner city is looking for drug addicts and putting them in jail. They're not putting the drug lords in jail. They're not putting the people who brought that shit to this country in jail. In fact, Mr. Idiot is running around talking about building a wall to keep Hispanics out. They are not the problem. He's just pulling a smoke and mirrors on people who aren't very bright and are ignorant of what's really going on and why shit is the way that it is in this country. And they like to blame it on the black folks or other people of color. They like to blame the victim. They like to shoot the messenger. They like to kill the victims and dispel them and dishonor them. So, you know, I was going to talk about the First Amendment, but, looking at it, it's like, it's too subject to the same kind of ignorance that if you really read any of these amendments all the way through, you can find a way to bend it towards yourself and your beliefs and your understandings or your knowledge or whatever. You won't read the shit word for word and understand it word for word. You'll pick shit out and then use that against somebody. Which, it's just, it's all a sign of ignorance and reading incomprehension. Not one person that I've had a racist argument with actually said anything about the law. They don't know anything about what they're talking about. They don't even know what these words mean. They don't know what racism means. They don't know what oppression means. They don't know what discrimination means. And they don't know what systematic oppression means. They're just shooting from the fucking hip because they got something to defend, which is their privilege. I don't see no white people running around talking about, you know what? Oh, this system is unfair. We need to have a meeting, a town hall meeting about this, and in our city, we're going to change it. We're going to make equal mean equal. Ain't no equality in America. Except for y'all, make America great again. For who? Ain't never been great for us. Never. So, what Tim Weiss asked a lady, okay, well, if you want to make America great again and you're trying to take it back somewhere, what year would you take it back to? And without a batting an eyelash, she said 1957. Okay, that was the year I was born. And back then, taxes were higher than they are now. Everything was higher, but Leave It to Beaver is the kind of life she was talking about wanting America to go back to. And if you ask any of these Tea Party people running around, what year do they think it was great for them? They'll probably come up with all kinds of years that was great for them. Ain't never been great for us. Never in the history of the United States of America has America been equal and great for black people or people of color. Never has. They do kind of play games with a hierarchy within the POC. Asians at the top, Hispanics in the middle, Indians after them, American Indians, and blacks on the bottom. That is by design as well. Did you know the owner of can't remember his name. I keep wanting to say Steve Jobs, but he was Apple. Anyway, the owner of Facebook is married to an Asian woman. And, but but he practices, his employees practice squashing people like me on Facebook by algorithms in the news feeds that lower your priority of whether or not anybody will see your post on news feeds. It's a proven fact. Don't believe it? Don't believe me? Look it up. Any of this stuff is supported by data, by information. It's just a lot of y'all don't want to look for it, because if you look for it, you'd have to shut your mouth and not argue and not be defensive and not be so fragile. Black people can't afford to be fragile. We have to be on high alert every day. We know the truth. It's you that we keep knocking on your door trying to get you to wake up. And other white people are trying to do it too. And because it's not done massively, millions of you are going, I don't see nothing. I don't hear nothing. I don't know nothing. So I ain't saying nothing. And if I do say anything, I'm going to defend it. Facebook administrators, same thing. They shoot the messenger. And every time they try to shoot me, every time a bunch of their fucking members make a hostile environment for me and I end up losing it, you know who they'll back? The assholes who did it, because they were polite. They were creating a hostile environment in a polite manner. And when I lost it, it was like, no, fuck you. Fuck all y'all. You know, there was one person in there who was trying to explain to them what I started to talk about before a bunch of them wanted to play ignorant and in denial about that transgender black model. And I was like, well, where are the admins when this shit's going on? Nowhere to be found. Oh, but they all jumped up when I said, fuck you. All of a sudden, everybody woke up. When I said every single person in here who thinks that woman deserved to lose her job and who are saying she was anti-white because she spoke up against racism, you're a racist. And when I had a conversation with that admin, he was like, well, everybody was wrong. Oh my God, that was about the 10th, 15th time I've heard some admins say that. I wasn't wrong. They were wrong. They created that hostile environment so that every person of color that was in that freaking group at that time either shut up or let them hammer on us. They want to take away our voice. They want to make us wrong for calling out racism, calling out overt racism, calling out how they benefit from racism, calling out the whole ball of wax. They don't want to know that. They just want to defend it. And if you defend racism, you're a racist. If you defend it in any way, you're a racist. See? Because there is no defense to that. It either is or isn't. What are you defending? That you're not one? Anybody I've ever known who said, I'm not racist, has something going on. I just invite people to look beyond the obvious. The information's out there. The data is out there. Go on some black sites and watch the white trolls get in there, and they sound like you. Their arguments are the same. Their attacks are the same. On social media, on media, and from over here, it all looks the same. Sounds the same, looks the same. Walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's a duck. But again, I'm fighting a system that is so full of denial. I mean, denial that is like irrational denial. I'm not a racist. I wouldn't call nobody a nigger. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. Yet, they're silent when it comes to fighting this. They ain't doing nothing. Because they don't have to. Ain't nobody racist against them. So, they can afford to ignore it. And the only way that they say they're fighting it is verbally. Arguing. And that's not fighting. What do you do when you go vote? Do you gather a bunch of your own people together and say this system stinks and it's wrong? I don't see anybody organizing to do that. The only people that are organizing to do that are us. And then when we do, it gets ignored. 74.5% of y'all and 12% of us. So you can sit there and say, whoa, look, they're gathering over there. Should we be afraid? Did you know that there are laws in individual states in the United States that if there's more than 5 of us together, it's against the law without license? What kind of fucking equality is that? Does that same law apply to you? If not, it's broke, it's wrong, you need to fix it. We didn't create that law, y'all did. Go look in your individual state and see what kind of laws are there. And if they equal inequality and you ignore it, you're part of the problem. And you're hiding behind white privilege that you don't see there's a problem. So I'm going to close with I think Tim Wise is probably the most brilliant white man I've ever heard yet. And that white doctor who I'm probably going to put in the comments the whole name of that lady who does seminars at universities, trying to reach y'all that there's a problem and the problem lies in you. It doesn't lie in the system. It lies in a whole bunch of you maintaining that system with denial and ignorance and silence and only jumping up when somebody wants to call y'all out about it. A business, you, your family, whatever, your church, your school, whatever. Bunch of bigots running around. And then you got racists on top of bigots. We have to fight all of you. Me as a transgender man does, I have to fight all of it. I have to deal with all of it. I can't just deal with a piece of it. Y'all can hide some pieces of it. I can't hide this. See, I walk up that door, they see a black, whatever they want to call me, first. Well, they see when you walk out the door. They don't see white. They may see something else, but your color is indistinguishable in the United States, whereas ours is 24 hours a day. Unequal, unfair, the truth. Don't want to hear it, you probably won't watch this video and you'll tune out. Because y'all don't want to hear it because you don't have to. We need laws to get y'all to listen. We need laws to get y'all to pay attention. We need laws that say that, you know what, our history gets taught in schools along with white history. We get groomed from an early age to ignore ours. We have to pay attention and know yours. Our history's gone. We have to go looking for it as adults. But as children, we have no choice but to be whiter than white people, so that we know how to toe a line when we become adults, which is also another part of the freaking racism. Making us inferior. All of our childhood days in school. Inferior by the fact that your race is superior in the history books, not ours. Systematic racism. Systematic oppression. Systematic discrimination. It's all very different than not having to deal with the systematic part in your individual lives. So, I'd love to get more into some of these amendments, but I'm not going to tonight. I just, I was challenged by a bunch of people on Facebook to make this video, and I rose to the occasion. Because I really don't, when I said I don't care what people think, I don't. I don't care if you like it or if you don't, the truth is the truth. And if you don't like it, you got a problem with the truth. You don't got a problem with me. You got a problem with having any kind of knowledge. And you have a problem with wanting to remain ignorant and shoot the messenger. Come try to fucking shoot me. You can do it on Facebook, but you try to come around here and shoot this messenger and see what happens to you. I'm a veteran of the armed forces, and I'm quite capable of defending myself. So with that, I'm going to bid y'all good night. Have a blessed Tuesday, and the pollinator is out.